Forget trying to keep up with AI. It's moving too fast. It's time to think differently about it. Welcome to the AI Readiness Project hosted by Kyle Shamim and Ann Murphy. They're here to help you build the mindset to thrive in an AI-driven world and prepare for what's next.
Oh, yeah. I love our groovy opening every time. It makes me happy.
It's so really great. Growing on me too. Like I just love it. I love it. I like how she kind of sounds like a Girl Scout or something, like, let's go and da-da-da.
We're gonna get there.
Forget about that. Let's go do this kind of a
thing. You don't
thing.
even know how ready you're gonna be for AI. You're gonna be so ready.
You're gonna be so ready, you're gonna get a badge. Our people are gonna get a certificate.
They are. It's fantastic.
If they take the AI Readiness Project course, Readiness program.
We are there. We're very look. We're there. We've got that. It's coming. It's coming. What
people,
are we?
Probably
within a week. Within a week.
Within a week, we will drop the AI Readiness program, which allows you to, in such a delightful fashion, revisit the 34 speakers from AI Festivus from the end of 2024. And as you go through these videos and you revisit them, then you get to do these fun little exercises at the end that Vicky Baptiste made up. And you get to see Kyle and myself in between each one. And then at the very, very end, you get a certificate. Yep. And by the way, we talk about the certificate and how important it is and how dope it is to be able to tell other people that you finished a program like this and you have a certificate. But the thing that we have kind of forgotten to talk about is how important it is for people to demonstrate that they are part of a community of humans. Yep. They are real.
Or multiple. It's one of the themes that I've heard. We had a number of people at the salon this week that mentioned She Leads AI and Paul Reitzer's group and some other some new groups I hadn't even heard of. And so I'm starting to see people kind of not only self-identifying, but starting to self-identify, triangulate within different communities, which is really smart.
I love it.
I know. It's really good. Well, that's kind of the spirit of this. So anyway, and we've got Karl Ye on today. I'm super excited to bring Karl up. We'll bring him up in like half an hour or so after we're done yip yapping. And
after we're done yip yapping, but can I yip on one other thing, which is that next week we have Angelina Martin, who is the author of ADHD and AI. And so next Wednesday, same time, same bat channel, she'll be with us, and it hopefully will be as unhinged as one would think with 3 characters.
Here's what we should do. What? We should get all excited in the first half hour and forget to bring her up. you know that thing where Jimmy Kimmel always said, "Oh, sorry, Matt Damon, we'll have to bring you up next
sorry,
week."
Matt Damon, we ran out of time.
Doing it with her. I'm sorry, we ran out of time.
You know what? She may not even know because she may have walked away by then.
Exactly. She's probably vibe coding some new platform to raise awareness about ADHD.
What are you AI ready for? Yeah. What's on your mind?
I'm going to go first today. Okay. Well, today OpenAI launched O3 and O4 Mini and O4 Mini High. And as David Shapiro categorized it, they have solved math.
What do you mean?
They hit 99.5% they basically maxed out the benchmarks for math.
Oh, I thought you meant with all of the numbers that they have added to their models. O3.
Oh, like even O3 maxed out at 99% can't figure out their model naming. No.
So they've solved math for us. Good.
So they've solved math. So I think, and that's something I'll talk about in a bit about what to pay attention to. However, for the first time since November 30th, 2022, I think that there's a second date that is effectively as relevant. Well, it's not as relevant. is worth noting, just like November 30th, 2022 was when ChatGPT launched. And that was the last day of March 31st, 2025. And that was when the image gen model launched. And there is just something about it being so natively incorporated in there. And then what's happened is it's like every day since then, there's been some new video model, some new large language model, some that are like, all of these things are now starting to get multiple tools, and the tools that they have are starting to be so good that they're indistinguishable from human only work. Like I feel like we're entering this threshold where I think up to this point, AI was janky enough that that you could have the hubris or the defense mechanism of saying, well, yeah, but you still need humans in the loop. And I feel like we have crossed a threshold where there are going to be some things where you actually don't need humans in the loop. And if you look at what O3 does, it's a semi-agentic model. And here's what that means. One of the things they described in the launch today is they had it solve some problem, and it used 600 calls to a tool in doing the answer. Like it is like writing its own Python code, executing it, looking at the answer, putting that into the mix, and it did that 600 times before it gave an answer. So so now the tools are not only multimodal, where they do images and words and math and problem solving. Now they're starting to do multi-step problem solving that you don't need to babysit it anymore.
Right.
And so the AI readiness thing, it feels like what it's accelerating is us all having to go to that place of, so if the tools get good at doing all the stuff, then our job starts to look more and more and more like, well, what do I want to accomplish? And who do I want to impact in the world? And like, what kind of difference do I make? Like I feel like we have entered this new phase where those people that really start to get introspective and say, what do I want to do in the world? Just assume that over the next year, the tools are going to be so good, you'll be able to do it. Even if it involves things like you have to be good at math and you're a math dum-dum like I am, it's like the execution, you can just do it, right? Like that's where we're entering. So that's where my head is. I'm in it. So I am sort of flying really, really high and thinking like 5 years out, and it's crazy. So
it's crazy.
And I feel like I am more energized about AI than I've been in a long, long time. The past 2 weeks have been really energizing for me.
Awesome.
And I was like burned and I mean, some of our
I know you were.
I know you're like, whatever, man.
Yeah. You were kind of like whatevs for a little while, a little plateau, which was actually really good to be around, because we need to see that even the most, you're an AI agitator, even the most agitating of AI agitators also hits a plateau. It's not always just this like sponge-like experience.
Well, and part of that plateau was we had been promised the tools getting so good that we wouldn't be able to keep up with them, and they just weren't that good. So part of it was I felt like I was wasting my time, because I'm like, something better is coming, and that was not a good, like, I am not proud of that I went to that place, but it also, I think it gave me a chance to rest. I think one thing that is going to be a constant for us is you're going to get excited about stuff. You're going to have the adrenaline rush. You're going to jump in and deep dive on stuff. And then over time, you're going to need to sort of back out of it and rest. And then when you come back, it's probably going to be at a different level, and you'll get excited again. So that to me feels like that's something that's going to continue. How about you? Where's your head?
Well, couple of things. One is about the rest piece. Vicky's in the chat, and you told me on the weekend that Vicky had worked on a project for 10 hours and that the conclusion of it potentially wasn't what exactly she was looking for. And I don't know, I guess that got in my head, Vicky. And so that night I went to bed, but like Manus, it just lives in my brain. It was like, you need to get out of bed, right? It woke me up and said,
Wow.
you need to get out of bed. You have the following things that you need to explore. So I got out of bed dutifully. And from midnight till 7 o'clock in the morning, I was changing my whole life. It
It's
wouldn't be
amazing.
that big of a deal if I was just like, let's write an email sequence or something. But it was like, no, let's redo our whole entire consulting offers, like every single thing. You started another one in the meantime, Vicky. Of course you did. Let's just tear everything down and build it up way, way, way better and make it possible for us to deliver the product, the offer that we deliver that is so awesome. But the thing that people pay us a lot of money to provide these plans for them, but the plan is just a prerequisite to doing the implementation. So it's a perfect metaphor for, with AI now, I can make this part quicker, easier, better, more intelligent. So that can get done. So I can spend time one-on-one with executive directors helping them fundraise, which is where the money happens. It doesn't happen from the plan. And so now I can reduce the cost of the plan by 90% and still make money,
Yeah.
So just like changing my life. And then
That's amazing.
the other thing is that with some of the stuff that's come out, particularly thinking about the memory piece, now how ChatGPT is officially remembering all the things.
Which, if you don't know, ChatGPT now remembers all of your previous chats, and you can just say, hey, what did we talk about last year about fundraising? And
exactly.
Go get it.
So for me, one of the things I've been contemplating is how close we're getting with our AI thought partners. And one of my friends, Luisa Milano, who you know and folks here know, she refers to her AI as her CSO, Chief Soul Officer.
Wow.
Right? Because now with the memory, it really, really, really knows us better than we know ourselves. Right? It knows what's in our heart of hearts.
Yeah.
And so what that I mentioned at the AI salon the other day, I'm thinking about what it means, not even just when I have my relationship with AI, but what it means for me and my relationship with other human beings who have a relationship with AI. So when I'm in the room with, you, I know that you've recently, maybe you prepped for this meeting with your AI avatar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm like,
whether it's my digital twin or just ChatGPT, but I pasted it, or it just knows all my stuff, and I just give me some talking points or give me some questions. Yeah,
exactly. Which would be, if you think about sales or fundraiser or whatever, it's really good that you may have more informed buyers. That's exciting to me. On the other hand, they're probably going to be more discerning because they have more insight coming into the conversation.
Yeah, I also, there was a thing that came up, I think it was my office hours last week, that, how you've got people in your life that they show up at a certain level. Maybe they show up at a C+ level.
Yeah.
Because of AI, those C+ players are going to start showing up at a B+ or an A level. And it's going to start to become apparent, what's authentic, who's authentically showing up and who's AI showing up. Because we have it right now with the avatars, right? People do the thing where they make the sort of saucier version of themselves, and then you see the real them, and you're like, ew. I think that's going to happen with just sort of how people are engaging. Now, listen, maybe the AI prepares them, they show up as a B+ player, and they actually get better. There is also the possibility that AI augments us and kind of gives us the confidence to step it up a bit. So that's a possibility too.
I think that just one little thing is that as everybody kind of works things out in advance of the conversation, you know, how they're showing up, we're going to have better conversations. We're going to have better group process because we're not going to be vetting the cobwebs and the bad ideas and whatever. It's going to be like people come in and they're informed, and we can expect that of each other. So like our team meetings, you have to prepare ahead of time, because why wouldn't you? And then we start at that level instead of starting at this level.
Yeah, it's, you know, the Khan Academy, the sort of flip the classroom upside down thing, like that was always his vision, and I feel like that's where we end up. I want to just pop up this comment that Herb put in here because I think it's really good. The place for humans in the loop should always be between the AI outputs and what you send to others. And I agree with that. I think that the other place is in the initiating of the, right? Like what do you want to accomplish? So there's the intentionality of what you want to use AI for. And then I agree with Herb here that our job is, once AI creates all this crap, right? And it's like, it's our job, like it's your job, Ann, to say, okay, of all the strategy it created for this, you know, fundraising organization, here's the stuff that I think is good, right? And that's the stuff you're going to put in front of the client, and they're going to trust you for that. They already trust you for that. But if you put something in front of them that's crap, you'll start to erode that trust, right? So your job is always going to be, even if what it outputs is perfect, you're the one that knows, okay, I know that this is good for them. And that's like, that becomes your role. So I thought that was a really good comment.
So yes, Herb, I absolutely agree. And also, what a beautiful smile you have, by the way. Congratulations on that.
All right. So let's flip over to the thing to pay attention to this week. So
yeah, what is the one thing?
The one thing this week is, if you haven't started playing with it, or if you have dabbled with ChatGPT, I think the thing to do next week is not dabble. Like dig in. Really understand what O3 does and what O4 Mini does, because what they do, and I assume you haven't played with them yet because you've been out living your life and doing your things. So you know how when you run one of the reasoning models, it says thinking, and then if you sort of expand it, you see it sort of thinking. These models both do that, but they also do it with tools. So if they're like, you know, it'll say like, hey, I probably need to figure out the interest percentage if they're asking to, you know, about a mortgage. And then it shows you the work. It like spins up a window, writes Python code, executes it, takes the answer from that, puts it in the thing. And it also does it with images. I uploaded an image. I went to Google and I said, find me a complicated image. And I found this sort of graffiti looking thing with just like hundreds of like objects on it. And I said, give me a catalog of anything that you could recognize in this image. And it brought the image up and it looked at it, and then it cut it into quadrants and started analyzing each of the quadrants. And then it gave me a catalog of all the things that it found in the image. And then I just said, make me a drawing of, you know, one of them. And it just did it. And so just go experience what it's like to watch this thing visually think and reason and go through its thing. It's a much more sophisticated experience than it used to be. So for me, that's it. So like it starts to get to this place where, especially if you've been on the sidelines, but even if you haven't, just the experience of watching it do what it does is a completely different thing than anything we've ever seen. And it's in the neighborhood of Manus, right? The sort of crazy Manus where it goes and looks at a website and it does this and it does that. It's in that neighborhood, but it's now contained within the chat experience.
Okay, well, this explains why earlier today I was doing a demo and it started writing code, and I was like, wait, I just closed it because I was like, these people are not ready. I don't know what this is. I'm just gonna close the window real quick and reopen ChatGPT.
Yeah. Well, but you know, that is like, I assume they're showing their work because DeepSeek, when it came out, it showed its work, and everyone, that was when the market lost $1.2 trillion in a day, because people are like, oh, this is so much better than ChatGPT. So I think that's why they're showing it. But to your point, there's times when you don't want it reasoning. You just need a quick answer, and that's like the 4.0 model, not the 0.3 model. Like the naming thing, a whole separate thing. But I think this would be a really good week to dig back into ChatGPT and just experience how different it is, because it is different. The other thing that they added, and I don't know if you know this, I discovered it yesterday, is there's a new button in the left-hand menu called Library. And if you click that,
what is that?
It's all the pictures you've ever created. It's like, it's your library of pictures. Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh.
I know. I know.
Because how I noticed it. I just 1 second here. Sorry, live show, everybody. We're rolling. We're rolling, but the dogs have needs. Because what I did today was I logged in on an incognito window to just plain old ChatGPT to double check what people who aren't paying have access to.
Yeah.
And so because that left hand column wasn't just all like the dog's breakfast, the library thing stood out. And so I looked in there and it was empty.
Right.
So I was like, maybe something's coming down the pike, but it's
all your images.
So all of your images are there?
Yeah, and you can scroll through them just like Mid-Journey. It's really cool.
So
and you can edit them. And
what do you think is, like, Jim Ross is here, and I know that Jim is a person who is really good about being consistent, and that he in particular has himself on like a game plan to experiment with AI for a few hours a day. And he's just seen that like the compounding interest of getting better each day. People who are employees right now, how and when do they just like take PTO and just like stay home and learn how to use ChatGPT?
I said that I got a lot of questions early on from parents talking about what should I tell my kid to do in college. And what I said back then was they should leave class and they should go back to their dorm room or go to the library and just do AI, learn about AI, find geeky, nerdy friends who are doing the same and hang out with them.
Yeah.
I almost feel that doubly so with employees right now. Whether like, whatever you're allowed to use at work, but on the weekends, use other stuff on your non-work computer, right? Go play with Mid-Journey, go make stuff for your kids, or, like Brandon did with his kid, where his 4-year-old made a song in Suno, and now his 4-year-old's running around going, Daddy, can I listen to the song I made? It's like just be in the conversation. I honest to God, I look at Jim Ross as kind of the gold standard of just set an intention and show up every day. And he goes to the extreme in my case, just because of the ADD, but he set the timer for an hour every morning and just does AI for his business. And sometimes he knows what he has to do and sometimes he doesn't, but he just does it anyway.
Yeah.
And he's always experimenting, right? And so I think it is the secret to being laid off last and hired first.
Same.
And in fact, there was a leak from the CEO of Spotify this past year that basically said, AI competence is a core skill now. Core. Like it's a core expectation. And, he also said you can't hire anyone new unless you can prove that the AI can't do that job.
Which, by the way, I mean, there were conversations about that a couple years ago already. And I'm quite sure that this is the beginning of the end for lots and lots of people who we know and love. That's been the real, like, other than man is keeping me up at night, I've just had this like spike in anxiety about the people I care about, because so many people I work with are in marketing or marketing adjacent fields, which are just such easy pickings. Like such easy pickings.
But
I'm putting myself
it's
out
gonna
of
be
business.
it's gonna be every job. I mean, the thing,
Yeah.
David Shapiro on X, if you go watch the videos that he did about this new thing, that if it solved math, right? Like anywhere where you need high mathematics, you no longer necessarily need a high mathematician to do it. Now, like, I don't even know what you would do with high mathematics. So you need to have, but ChatGPT could teach me in probably an hour.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So,
For sure.
it's
Like,
like,
yeah, what do we need math for? I mean, I've been asking myself that question since 4th grade, but
exactly. So let's just quickly talk about our community. So one of the things
yes.
that Anna and I deeply believe is that community is everything. And I got to tell you, the more these tools get sophisticated, the more I feel this way. You can't possibly learn enough. You can't possibly learn fast enough. You can't possibly be passionate enough. And you're human, right? So you're going to burn out and you're going to go through this and that. And when you're in community, you can draw on the energy of others. Other people will show up and go, oh, I'll teach you something. And you can just sit back and absorb it and things like that. And so the salon we just officially hit 3,000 members. So yes.
Congratulations. Lucky them. Lucky them.
Exactly. And I'm going in 2 weeks. I'm headed to Washington, D.C. with Daisy Thomas, and we're flying in 50 different people. 10 of the startups are AI startups, and we're going to be going all around Washington and talking to staff of senators and congressmen and things like that. So really, really excited. So please come join the salon, and then
My
why don't you
gosh.
tell us about your remarkable organization?
Okay. Well, okay. So one of the things that women inside She Leads AI are working on in anticipation of the job loss is they're creating a job companion AI kit so that, and we're going to go around like one of our She Leads AI members is starting in New York and she's going to road trip all the way over to Oregon this summer. And we're going to meet her in different places, hopefully
Oh,
go
that's
and talk to
so cool.
Go and talk to legislators. And one of our friends suggested shrink wrapping the van in a sponsor's logo, which happy to shrink wrap our van in whatever sponsorship logo is required. Like we're happy to do it.
I think 3 mile storage is they want
I
to get
think
their
3
awareness
mile
out,
storage would look really good on the outside of a VW bus.
The nice thing there is Jim would provide the graphics with using AI.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the kind of thing that we do though. We look at opportunities to help, and then now we're the people who have these currently rare, unique skill set to build this stuff. And we also understand the people, process, and culture component. So that's really, in She Leads AI, our mission is to unite accomplished women to advance AI for global prosperity. And a lot of things fit under that. But something like doing this AI job companion kit type thing is like what an awesome way to use these skills that we're privileged enough to have had the opportunity to learn. As hard as it has been to learn them, it is a privilege that all of us can afford to stay up all night learning these things.
Yep. No,
So yeah,
I'm thrilled. So yeah, please go check out
please join. And if you are curious at all about She Leads AI, tomorrow we have an event from 8 a.m. Pacific to 8 p.m. Pacific. There'll be 12 or 15 women speaking about how they're using AI to repot themselves. So
you just can't get enough of the massive events, can you?
oh my God, we tried to make it 3 hours and it just couldn't happen.
Couldn't, I know. Yeah, it's crazy.
Couldn't happen.
Well, listen, speaking of special people and special
Yes.
guests, Karl, I'm so excited to bring Karl up. Why don't you, embarrass him a little while he's backstage, and then we can bring him up and he can defend himself.
Well, Karl, yeah, exactly. Karl is for sure a touchstone for bunches of us when it comes to AI operations and business. So he's oftentimes the person that people seek out when we're like, hey, it seems like this company should be able to do XYZ thing, or isn't this weird? I was at so and so place and I was sharing this with them and they like all looked really confused. Or, what do you price this as? Or what are some of the issues that you've come up with? And I can remember a number of examples where Karl has been able to like demystify stuff for all of us. He's extremely successful. He shows up on the AI Daily Show every single morning with a group of 5 or 6 other big brains in AI. And I think they've probably done like 700 episodes or something like that. A lot.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm just delighted to have him here today and honored. And everybody meet Karl.
Karl.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome. Thanks for coming on the show. We're just, we're just a fledgling little show. I think this might be our 7th episode, so we just have to multiply that by 100, and we'll be in the neighborhood where you guys are.
It's not really 700. I think if you talk to Brian, it's around 350. So about half of that. So
okay, still that's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah. You guys really have set the bar very high.
It's mostly fun just talking every day, and I'm, as much as I try, I try to be on every day. It's like, and I think that's what's nice about multiple people is that we all get busy with certain things, but there's always at least 2 or 3 people on the show to talk about that subject. So
So if you do that ebb and flow that we were talking about, you've got someone to cover you. So why don't you jump in and just tell us who you are, give us a little bit about your background and the things you're thinking about. We'll ask you some questions, toward the end of the show, but would love to just know what's making you tick these days and where you came from.
Yeah. So I came from the mostly SaaS space, owned my own SaaS company from 2012 to 2016, sold, and then kind of was a little like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So a contract came up, which was supposed to be 18 months, turned into 3 years.
Wow.
And then, and then from there, went to another SaaS company and worked with them. And then obviously when AI blew up, November of 2022, led their AI adoption work. But really my interest in AI started when I was a kid, because the first game that my dad ever gave me was this was a chess set, and it was an electronic chess set. So I would always be playing against the computer, and the story about Deep Blue and then AlphaGo. And I remember when I was where I was sitting in an office. I don't know if you all remember I think it was 2018, 2017, where Sundar Pichai was at Google I/O demonstrating AI, making a reservation to a restaurant. And I thought, wow. I don't know if you all remember that.
So I'll tell you why I remember that in a second, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I remember that, and I thought, this is amazing. This is where things are going. So this, accelerated my deep dive. But obviously, we started playing with GPT-2, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, but nothing was obviously ready for prime time, right? Mm-hmm. It was like, oh, that's neat. And you can see it progressing, but no one expected it to go where it was in the short time frame. And then obviously everything blew up since then. And we started a business on it a couple years ago and haven't looked back. But really, for me, the thing that I've been seeing and why we created 0 to 60 is there is I feel, and I think you would probably agree, there's our AI bubble where everyone's excited and everyone's hyping everyone up, but then there's the rest of everybody else, especially businesses.
And it's getting noisier. Have you noticed that it's getting noisier?
100%.
In the past couple of weeks, the pushback is intensifying.
Oh my God! Thank you. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you're right. The bubble. And, good way to put it. Yeah. And the optimistic bubble.
Well, we're right, and in that bubble, we always see, like the hype train people. Yep. Who are like, and you kind of know how they start their it's usually on X, but it could be on LinkedIn or something. It's like, 10 wild examples,
Exactly.
mind blowing.
You can make money with ChatGPT.
Something, or someone's cooked. This
Yeah,
is cooked.
This is
We're all
good.
cooking or something.
Yeah.
Anthropic is cooking or something like that, and it's
Software engineers are over.
exactly. Yeah, so someone's dead, SEO's dead, this is
Oh,
dead,
yeah.
or whatever it is, right? But if you take that out and you talk to just general businesses and everyday people, they're like, yeah, AI is kind of cool, but like I have other stuff to do.
Mhm.
That's awesome. And when you show them all the amazing things outside, all the cool stuff, it's like, wow, this is really, really cool. But remember, people have other interests, they have their families, they have things to do, and this isn't a priority for a lot of people. So that hype isn't matching, to me, what I'm seeing on the ground, talking to over 100 businesses, hundreds of businesses, clients, prospects. And it's like, when you hear McKinsey, a KPMG, whatever big report saying adoption is 70% or increasing
Oh
by
my God.
70%. And I was like, I don't know who they're talking to. And maybe it's the audience we're talking to, but I'm like, I don't see that at
No.
all.
No.
I don't.
Who
I don't-
are, if you were to guess, who are they talking to?
I don't know.
For real, because where are they getting the, I don't see
Well,
this
you know something.
any-
You know something that I've experienced, and I'm curious if you have, Karl, is I'll talk to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I use AI a lot. What do you use? Oh, ChatGPT. Like they always have that answer. And they're like, well, how do you use it? Oh, emails. And then the minute you show them something that is not just, a call and response like Google search, their drops open, and it's clear that they've never really. So it might be that people are answering, oh yeah, I use AI, means they've used ChatGPT a couple of times, right?
Or Copilot.
Or Copilot, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's like today I was we're doing a presentation to it's an entrepreneur group. I don't know if you heard of EO before.
Mhm.
Right. So I was talking to an EO group, and we always begin our presentation with how many people here use AI, what do you use it for? And then I always like to ask, hey, who's paying for any AI?
Mhm.
Oh, that's good.
We're usually talking maybe one or two people in the room, depending how big the room is.
Wow.
Then you kind of know, you're like, hey, so obviously you haven't had the full capability, the things that you use. And then even the people that we say, oh, I'm like, this person's our resident AI expert. I'm like, okay, cool. So then we can talk more advanced intermediate things. But then usually I would say 99% of the time, then again, we're like, you kind of dig a little deeper and it's like, oh, you either haven't paid, you don't pay, or even if you do, the term custom GPT, it's like, I've never used it before. And then you're like, okay, and that's not a slight against anybody. That is
Right.
more of there are things that have come out and it's so fast. And I like using the example of 2007, Steve Jobs on stage demoing the first iPhone. So cool. That's amazing. Everyone's excited. Imagine if we're on iPhone 16. Imagine if iPhone 16 came out 3 months later.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point.
That's a really good point.
I was like,
With the complete app store, right?
Yeah. I was like, but then there would be no app store because no one had built the apps.
Right.
What
Yeah.
apps? I don't know these apps.
Yeah. That's something that I've thought about a lot, that the progression from like, when the World Wide Web came out and HTML 1.0 came out, like to get to some level of saturation and some level of maturity was like a decade. Like it wasn't a handful of years, right?
Yeah.
It was a long time. And you're right that like the jumps here are so significant that I think even people that maybe tried ChatGPT a year and a half ago and just kind of assume, well, it's probably the same kind of thing as it was then.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing where it's just not it's not even a single tool anymore, right? It's a dozen tools, right?
There was this it was a quote maybe last year. I think Brad Lightcap from OpenAI said it, where, and we're finding this too, when a tech is deployed in most businesses, the assumption, IT, is that the tech, the software, the functionalities remain static. Sure, there's features and whatnot built in, but like if you buy let's say a Salesforce, if you buy an ERP, the ERP does the same thing. It does what it's supposed to do, like end to end, CRM, whatever it is. There hasn't been a tool in the past that essentially changes how it operates.
Yeah.
Right. So
exactly.
So it's different when a company attempts to purchase this, uses AI or purchases AI tools, they're still treating it like a tech in the past. So when you're trying to deploy it, and this is where we have issues when IT is trying to deploy it, secure it in that way, like an ERP, it doesn't work like that. It's changing its functions, and it's so different. And you were even talking about this, I think, earlier in the show. The way that people are adopting it is they're kind of in that past mode versus there's actually, I don't know if you both have heard the term Lumiere's law. So Lumiere's law it's more of it's like a photography term. So think of when when moving picture came out and people were so used to photographs, people were still using they were still trying to use essentially video, but in the format of photography. So it was just a bunch of images in a row. A better example would be when the internet first came out, all the websites were literally just brochures, online brochures, because that's the only way people knew how to. It's literally looking at new technology through the lens of old technology. And I think that's kind of where we are at the moment.
I think that's huge. The thing that struck me, because this happened for me personally, and then I see it with other people, is that where people inevitably go when they sort of get their aha moment about AI, they go to, I'm gonna go for the efficiency play. So they go to like Zapier, automations and things like that. We're like, I'm gonna make my work more efficient, which is how computers have always behaved, right? But this generative thing where it's like, what if you could reimagine what your work even is? Like that's a thing that we just, to your point, we don't have a context to computers have never acted like that. So I think it's a huge point.
And you raise a good point. We don't know. We know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. So there isn't, for those in when moving picture first came out, they didn't know that you could do the things that we do with movies today. It took evolution to do that, and like all the different use cases and people being creative. So it'll take today everyone here, everyone listening, everyone playing. And I think this is why I remember March 2023, Sam Altman said, hey, we're going to release these to the world, but it's kind of up to us to figure out how to use it. It's not their job. And that's very different than a lot of tech tools that here's the defined purpose.
Especially for a generalized tool, you've got engineers. Like if you watch the OpenAI, live streams, what are their examples? Math, physics, engineering, right? Like today I was like, why is there not a poet on there? Well, because they don't have one that works there, right? But that's who's using the tools once they put them in the world, is people who are not just mathematicians and physicists. So let's jump. I made a banner for us, Anne. Look.
Oh, 3 questions for our speaker. I wanted to just like harken back really quickly, though, to remember how frustrated we all were that OpenAI didn't release any documentation, and everyone was just like, oh, that's great. Thanks for giving us this thing that nobody knows how to do anything with, which for some people probably was a disservice. For the people with the more curious minds and some time available to them, it was brilliant that there wasn't any documentation, because we literally had to figure out how to break it.
Yeah.
And in that process, that's how we learned the most. More
Well,
so
and
than
OpenAI learned a lot too, right? Like they're like, oh, they use it like that. Oh, that's important to them.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
They sure did. So Karl, one of the questions we like to ask people, which I'm wondering how you will identify this moment in your life trajectory, but we like to ask people, what was the moment that they knew that they had to go all in on generative AI? And then what happened after that?
Well, I kind of touched on that before, and nothing really happened. So during Google I/O 2018, I'm like, okay, I'm going all in. There was nobody there to go all in. It was that John Travolta meme. It's like, where is everybody?
Where is everybody? Well, you know what's funny? I said I would tell you my thing for that. I remember that Google I/O, and Sundar got up there and he showed all this stuff, and it was really good. And then I went to like use the AI that he made it sound like it was going to be so easy. And like they were talking about embeddings and weights and like you had to understand like AI theory and like what all that meant and temperature. And I just backed, like I just went away from it. So when ChatGPT came out 4 years later, like that was sort of this instant moment where, oh, like now it's just like a Google, chat box, right? Yes. Like you don't have to know all the math. So talk about how did that evolve? Like did you went all in on it? No one was at the party. Like, did you figure out the tech? Have you been doing it that whole time, or did you back out of it as well? Like just talk about that journey a bit.
No, so when that happened, I remember, if you listen to Paul Reitzer,
love
his marketing blueprint, and I remember because I had that book and I had him sign it at a content marketing
con.
And he was that was the very first time he started talking about it. I remember that book, and so he was the only one in that kind of space, and maybe a few others. There's actually a podcast called the No Priors podcast. They've been out for a very long time. So you kind of pick pieces in it, but because there was no practical applications, you're just like, oh, I'm just going to have fun playing with it. And that's kind of all I did. Now, I remember I kind of wrote in, I don't know, a business plan in a couple of goals of mine. It's like, hey, I want to explore it more, learn about it more, and then see what I can do in business. But like, I think having implemented so many things from a business perspective, ran my own business too, you kind of understand there's no way people will the embrace of this unless you have a very, very specific use case, probably most likely machine learning use case, some sort of data classification, and that's kind of it. And then even then, that's very rare for companies to do that. So I kept playing with the tools, but I never actually went beyond it. So listened some podcasts, did that. Really, where I was excited about is the combination of AI and blockchain. That was when blockchain started growing again. I was like, oh, where can AI now play in this space? And obviously from a Web3 blockchain crypto perspective, I think that was really ruined by essentially the finance bros.
The NFT bros.
Where everyone was trying to scam their way and trying to make the dollar. But I always felt the underlying technology had such promise, but that was getting lost in the monkeys and the scams, right? The monkeys or the scams, and then you're like, oh no. So it was sad, but then I kept my eye on the AI piece, but no one was really going there except for the labs and so on. So it was until 2022 that came out. I'm like, okay, we gotta go.
Chat
And
GPT came out. Yeah. Okay.
now we gotta go because I have the kind of a little bit of a background understanding,
Yeah.
remembered what Sundar was doing, and I'm like, this can actually happen now. Met my business partner around March. I started creating content, got some businesses who were interested, and then kind of just took off from there.
Brilliant. Okay, here's question number 2. Based on, who you are, what you're good at, you're based on your expertise. So just sort of think of the lens of the things you're good at. What are the trends that you think are important that you're following? Like what are trends you're seeing and why?
The one that I'm really keeping my eye on, and I'm actually I guess talking through and trying to get businesses to understand is, I don't know if you saw Y Combinator's Call for Startups 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of them really stood out. One was Call for B2A, business to agent, right? Where the customer is agent. That's one. The other big one was vertical AI. And that connects to something else, which I'll say in a second. But I guess the call is any vertical SaaS, essentially any vertical SaaS, can be, and to me will be, disrupted if Y Combinator is asking for startups to literally disrupt,
wipe out a vertical.
Literally, so vertical AI, vertical SaaS. That has a big implication, not just for SaaS, for everything else. And to me, the underlying theory, and we can see it with vibe coding, right? The term vibe coding is all the legacy companies, Salesforce agents, Microsoft, whatever it is, they won't be the ones who are going to be the major disruptors, in my opinion, because regardless of how they operate, they still are fundamentally born from business, like how traditional businesses are developed. I think we all know, from a SaaS company, you get seeded, then you grow, you get more people, then you try to raise more funds, Series A, Series B, Series C, grow, and find yourself either an exit, IPO, or whatever that end goal would be.
At some point, figure out a business model.
Hopefully not be poor and make some of your money back. I think, though, if you look at what is happening, the biggest flex used to be, hey, how big's your team?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That flex that's not a flex, that's a red flag.
Right.
Right? That's no longer really the flex. It's like, wait a minute, why can a team of 5 or 10 now punch above their weight and compete with a team of 200, 300, right. 500?
Yeah, and if you can't, you're right. That's going to become a red flag. And then that starts to look to me like every legacy company that's got 200 people, trying to build the next product. Well, wait a minute, how's that going to change, right? And are they going to resist that change?
Yes, and to me, that isn't exacerbated by, we all know, especially major SaaS companies, you have if you're lucky enough to have Nike, let's say Nike as a client, you're going to customize your tool however Nike wants it to be customized. But if you have a medium company, you're not going to customize it that much. And if you have a brand new, you're not going to customize it all. Well, what happens when those companies are starting to look at these SaaS products and be like, that's great that you'll customize it for me, but how about if I screen capture a whole bunch of your tool? I'm going to take it to, I don't know, Bolt and Replit and just build myself your product totally tailored to what I want.
Yep.
Completely. And I don't plan to sell it. I just plan to use it.
Yep.
For our internal purposes. So why would I pay you? And that, to me, is that moat that SaaS companies have is starting to lower and lower because of, can people do it now for the big words? No. But I'm sure we always say, what happens in 3 months? What happens in 6 months? What happens in 12 months? when everything O3 today. I don't
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen.
But
If
yeah,
I don't know how good it is. I've
right.
seen the Zoom capabilities of O3. I'm sure there's very, very great entrepreneurial minds in your audience to be like, I'm gonna take O3, I'm gonna take a Salesforce, screen capture a bunch of them, and ask O3, build this out.
Let's go build it
I
out.
don't know what that's gonna look like, but it's
Yeah.
gonna, I'm sure when O4 comes out, it'll be better, and
Yep.
5 and 6. So that is the biggest trend that I'm seeing. And I tell a lot of businesses, hey, it's not enough that you I've heard a lot of crawl, walk, run, but I'm
Mhm.
like, that's fine from a legacy to get people, but that 10-person company that is in your space, they are born. Jim, I don't know if
Well,
you've
they're not
watched,
even running. They're on a rocket. Like it's a different mode.
I think I don't know if you've seen the movie The Dark Knight, or no, The Dark Knight Rises.
Uh-huh.
And I think Bane says it's like, oh, you've been, like, oh, you use the darkness or something like that. He's like, I was born and shaped in the darkness.
Yeah.
These companies, these startups, they're literally shaped by AI. They're
Yeah.
not trying to bolt on a product. They're not trying to bolt on a process. They're not trying to use N8N as an automation. Maybe they are,
Mm.
but their whole business is literally AI. They're circling. They revolve around AI, and that means to me they're gonna run circles around companies who are like slowly starting to adopt it. And that's sort of the biggest trend I'm really following.
Love it.
Drew, I really appreciate what you said. The UX is just a microphone. Couldn't agree more. Had that conversation yesterday with a client who's building a new space, and I'm like, promise you, do not build an open air office. I promise you, you're going to regret it, because we're all going to be talking to like one little thing, and it's going to be going everywhere. Karl, we talk about AI readiness instead of AI literacy. And I would be curious to hear when you hear AI readiness, what does that mean to you? And what would you recommend to somebody who's still in that maybe dabbling phase? What would you recommend to them?
So when we talk about AI readiness, what that means to me is, and I'll kind of put it from more of a business lens where we look at it, is I think I've heard you say it's not enough for you to dabble anymore. That's not something. You have to actually use it, and you have to connect it to whether you do it for your job, but ideally you do it as a whole. Like, you have to be in the space and you have to understand it. I know people are busy. I know you have all these things going on, but you cannot, you can't just ignore it, or you can't just let it pass you by. You actually have to be, whether you pay attention, do one newsletter, do one review on X, put a bunch of people on lists, whether it's follow somebody on LinkedIn, follow Ann and Kyle on LinkedIn or TikTok. You kind of have to do that, just because it is, I tell businesses a lot, you have to have some sort of foundation, because if you don't, we've seen the things move can you believe O1 was announced in September, and
It's
it's
September.
April, and now we're here, and all
And
these
it's like they smashed all the benchmarks. They like effectively topped the benchmarks out in 8 months or 6 months, whatever it is.
So that's
Great.
what I mean, I think, by AI readiness. But I think we also know, no matter how much we tell, we have to let everybody else know, because there's too many people I see that are not, that are literally just letting this pass. And maybe that's the fault of the AI companies and the hype machine, where there's so much news, people have said, it's something else, and there's
Break
too
me
much
up in 3 or 5 years. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Yeah, it's absolutely crazy how fast it's moving, and it's the thing. I'm curious to your take. I know we need to wrap up here. We started a few minutes late, so we're a little late, but so I appreciate you staying. Um, but it's things are moving so fast. The thing that kind of makes me ache right now is it's accelerating so quickly that the people that are getting left behind, like in the web days, you could still see them, right? But this thing's going so fast. It's like, I don't know how people catch up when the thing is so capable so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's one thing though. I was thinking about this too. What happens when it's so capable that the people who weren't able to, get on that train it's easy for them to just get on, like
Mm.
driverless cars, right?
Right. Yeah, they just get in them. Yeah.
Just use this. I don't need to know how it works. I don't need to know anything. I just essentially use it. And maybe that's where we're going. It's it's so easy that it benefits everybody without everybody having to put in the work, which I'm sure some people here are like, for the past 2 years, just that's all we've been doing. But I'm like, maybe we need to do that, or else I don't want to think about hey, there's going to be a bunch of people who, are left behind because they're concerned about other things. And I know a lot of people like AI, this is the greatest thing, but I'm like, no, there's a lot of other issues in the world that are pressing too. So this isn't, we've got to keep ourselves in check, and we got to have a little bit of perspective on the space as well.
Wow. Well, this has been awesome. I mean,
this has been awesome. I wish our show was 7 hours long, because I could sit here all day.
I feel the same way. Well, Karl, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karl. That was a treat. Absolute treat.
All right. Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.